Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the 2025 OSAA High School Football Officials Training Video, our Clips of the Week. Hard to believe that we're nearly halfway through the season. We hope everyone is having an enjoyable and safe season. Let's get right into this week's Clips of the Week. Well, just like a regular game, we're going to start with a free kick. And on this play, we want to look at a few different things. First, we want to ask ourselves whether or not this kick was a pop-up kick. Now, the film is not fantastic. We're going to give the benefit of the doubt to the crew that this was not a pop-up kick. As a reminder, if the kicker drives this ball directly into the ground and then it bounds up higher than the head of the return team, we want to kill this play immediately and enforce a 5-yard penalty for an illegal pop-up kick. But again, we're going to assume that this was just simply pooched over the front line of the return team. And we want to watch the action by number 59 of the kicking team. And what we're going to see here is that we have a blindside block by number 59. And unfortunately, our umpire does not catch this. Now, with 5 officials, we do ask our wings to be deeper, and we can see the head linesman starting around the 15. Had we had 7 officials or the luxury of that, we might be in better position to be able to catch this. But as it is, we need to make sure that we are keeping our head up. And while understandably we want to pay attention to the ball, we do get a pretty vicious blindside block here unnoticed by number 59 of the kicking team. So again, we want to try to get all safety fouls. Try to keep your head up. Try to keep a wide angle of vision and make sure we're looking for fouls like this. And as always, we need to be prepared for anything on a free kick. So as we talk about week in and week out, a kick is a kick is a kick until it is no longer a kick. Furthermore, on free kicks, the kicking team cannot advance the ball if the kick never ended. So let's keep that in mind as we watch this play. Now let's note there are 3 seconds left in the quarter, and this is the end of the first half. We're going to get a kick that goes untouched by R. Now, they simply let the ball go. The clock starts to run when the ball hits the ground. Now, the ball never makes it to the goal line. We're going to have a member of the kicking team pick up the ball, and then we're going to have our referee and our head linesman both signal touchdown. But thankfully, our line judge is coming to the rescue slowly but surely. He obviously knows that the kicking team cannot advance this kick. The kick never ended. Now, the kicking team does get to keep the ball, but it will be first and goal from around the 3-yard line. Now, if we look at the next play, we're going to notice that the crew did get this right. They took the touchdown off the board, and they in fact put time back on. Now, there were 3 seconds on the clock, and the clock does not start when touched by K. So we should have 3 seconds, but nonetheless, good job by the crew recognizing that time needed to be put back on the clock, and they took the score off the board. So good job by the line judge coming in and being a crew saver. But as a reminder, if the kick never ends, the kicking team cannot advance a kick that they recover. So on this play, we want to look at 2 different things. First, we're going to get a change of direction play. And as we talk about a lot, when we have a change of direction, we oftentimes are set up well for blindside blocks to take place. And as this runner switches direction, goes back to the right, we want to watch what the right tackle does. They actually get 2 really good blocks, and they use open hands. It'd be very easy for this player to deliver 2 different blindside blocks, but they deliver 2 blocks with open hands. And as officials, if we see this, we want to let that kid know, great job on that, way to use open hands and not delivering a blindside block. But now let's watch the runner at the end of the play here. And we're clearly going to see that they hurdle the defender who has both feet on the ground. This is a personal foul for hurdling. We should get a flag easily by the head linesman, if not the back judge as well. And we want these fouls called. This is a very easy, straightforward hurdling call, and unfortunately, we do not get a flag on this play. So now we have a PAT after a score, and we've shown a couple of clips over the years where we see trick plays ran out of a PAT or field goal formation. A couple of years ago, we showed a play where the holder threw the ball from their knee, and we killed that play correctly immediately. Last year, we showed a play where the holder had their knee off the ground, and they flipped the ball to the player lined up as the kicker, and that was also legal. On this play, we want to watch what the holder does. So this is also a legal play. The holder receives the snap, puts the ball quickly on the ground, but then they rise up and throw a pass. This is a legal play, and the crew correctly allows this play to go. Now, once we recognize that this is not going to be a kick, this is a scrimmage kick play, so we'd like to see our line judge move immediately to the pylon. They rule this unsuccessful, which does appear to be the right call, but we want to make sure that that line judge is on the pylon, on the goal line. Retreat deeper so that you are safe, but in a better position to make this call. So now we're going to look at a series of clips that involve some bizarre enforcement. And we talk a lot about making sure that we're taking our time when it comes to discussion around fouls and penalty enforcement. And what we're going to notice here is that we have our 12th player running off the field. Now, it also appears that the coach for that team is also trying to call a timeout, but that goes unnoticed. Now, as that player is leaving the field, we get a flag from the line judge. And then we get a long pass and touchdown score. So we should have a foul here for illegal substitution. This is not an illegal participation foul. By rule, that 12th player trying to leave the field is not participating, and we should have an illegal substitution foul, and this should be a live ball foul. Now, because the team on offense scored, they would have a choice of enforcing that penalty either half the distance on the subsequent try or 5 yards from the succeeding spot, which would be the next free kick. So this is the subsequent try, and we can see here that they're snapping from the 3. So they obviously are going to have chosen to have that penalty enforced on the subsequent kickoff. But now when we get to the subsequent kickoff, we can see that the penalty was enforced 15 yards from the subsequent spot, meaning that the crew had ruled on illegal participation. And again, when that 12th player is running off the field, that is by rule illegal substitution. So we enforce this 15 yards to the R45. But wait, there's more. Now we're going to see that the return team is lined up at the R40, and now our neutral zone on the free kick is only 5 yards. And if we watch the umpire, they're going to walk up to the 40, back to the 35 where they should be. And then we're going to allow this free kick to happen. And let's watch what the umpire does after the kick. We're going to see that they throw a flag. And this is presumably for encroachment by the return team. So now, lo and behold, we do see that the next snap is from the 15-yard line. So they enforced encroachment by the return team 5 yards from the succeeding spot, which was the 20 since it was a touchback. So let's talk about a few things here. First off, we don't want to allow the return team to line up incorrectly. They're used to lining up at the 50-yard line. We had a penalty that was enforced on the kickoff. So let's not give the ball or have our ready for play until we make sure players are in proper position. That's good preventative officiating. Now, we have a flag against the return team on a loose ball play. We don't enforce that from the subsequent spot. This is not a PSK foul. If we have a foul during the kick by the return team, we would enforce that from the previous spot. But again, we should have never been in this position to begin with. We should have had this as a legal substitution. We should have enforced this 5 yards from the 40 to the 45 of the kicking team. And then hopefully we would have allowed extra time to make sure the players on both sides are lined up correctly. So on this play, we're going to get a run to the right side, and we're going to get a holding call by the line judge. And it's important that we continue to officiate the play even after throwing a flag. And we're going to notice a late hit out of bounds that goes unnoticed and no flag. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our head up. Again, the spot isn't so important when it comes to player safety. Now, we know sometimes when a runner is going down the sideline, they may step out and our whistle might be a little slow, and we will give a little bit of leeway to the defense. However, here, the runner is clearly not in that position, and they're going to have a clear late hit here. So we want to make sure our line judge is looking up, make a mental note of where that out of bounds spot is, but continue to officiate the play. Now, our referee should also be trailing this play, and they could also have additional help with this because they do not have the responsibility of the runner. Now, our umpire and back judge are not in position to be able to determine whether or not that runner was out of bounds, but we like to see them crash this a little quicker. We don't see them coming in at all. And now we have an opponent into their opponent's bench, and we only have one official over there. So let's make sure that we're hustling over there. We should see the back judge, the referee, and the umpire all running in that direction. And we don't see that from any of those three. And again, if we had the luxury of 7 officials, we'd have a deep wing there that would be able to catch that as well, since they would not have forward progress responsibility. So again, until we have 7 officials, it is critically important that we are sticking to our mechanics and making sure that the referee is following this play, and then our back judge and umpire are crashing in at the end of the play to dead ball officiate. So the last 2 plays we're going to look at are very similar. It's in regards to scrimmage kicks and penalty enforcements when we have a foul by K, the kicking team. So we're going to notice on this play, we're going to get a flag at the snap from the line judge for an illegal formation against the kicking team. They have more than 4 players in the backfield. And we're going to see that the head linesman also throws that. So excellent job for having 2 flags. Now we're going to get a fair catch at the 42-yard line of the return team here. So now you can see that we have the line judge sprinting out to the referee to let them know about the call. So now we want to watch the referee enforcement. They're going to signal that we have an illegal formation against the kicking team. The back judge is doing an excellent job holding the 42, and they're trying to get the attention of the referee, who unfortunately is not wearing a radio. And we do encourage everyone to wear radios. It certainly improves communication. Now, the referee was going to just automatically enforce this 5 yards from the previous spot, which used to be the rule. But several years ago, the penalty enforcement, there's an exception now on fouls by the kicking team, and this 5 yards can be enforced from the end of the kick. So that would bring it from the return team's 42 to the 47. Now, of course, we can go to, this case, the home team coach, and give them 2 options. Coach, would you like to enforce 5 yards from the previous spot and have them re-kick? Or would you like to take the ball at the 47-yard line? And I would imagine in this situation, most coaches would go ahead and take the ball at the 47. So anyway, an excellent job here by the back judge in recognizing that and eventually coming together with the referee to make sure that option was explained and ultimately getting this penalty enforcement correct. So this play is very similar to the play that we just watched, and it's also going to involve a scrimmage kick. And just like before, we're going to get a call by both wing officials for an illegal formation at the snap. So again, excellent job for having 2 flags on that. That's what we'd like to see. Now in this case, rather than a deeper kick, we're going to get a very short kick that the line judge is going to rule out of bounds at the 39-yard line. So again, just like the play before, we have a foul for illegal formation by the kicking team. And since this is ruled out of bounds at the 39-yard line, we would expect this next snap to be from the 34, because the return team is certainly not going to want the kicking team to be penalized 5 yards and re-kick. They would just simply take the 5 yards from the end of the kick, and we'd have 1st and 10 at the 34. But when we get to the next snap, we're going to see it's from the 39. So again, we would encourage crews to slow down and go through all of the options and remind ourselves that fouls by the kicking team can be tacked on to the end of the kick. So it's our assumption here that that option was not given to the return team and rather just said, hey, you probably want to decline this, right? And of course, without the absence of information, the return team coach is going to agree. But again, this should be 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. So before we conclude this week's episode, we're going to look at 3 clips, and this is more for game administrators. So for athletic directors and other game administrators that may be watching this, or for officials leading up to their games and the communication they have with their schools, the OSAA will be sending out some additional communication regarding the use of flashing lights, which is something we've noticed increasing throughout this state. And on these 3 clips, we're going to look at the use of flashing lights in various situations. So on this first play here, we're going to have a pretty clear touchdown. And after the referee, the gentleman in the white hat, signals a touchdown, we get the flashing lights. And this is what we would like to see. This is clearly after the end of the play. This is a clear touchdown. We don't see any flags on the field, and our referee has signaled touchdown. So again, this is when we would like to have the lights flash if we are indeed going to do so. So on this next clip, we're going to have a pass into the end zone, and we're going to have a flag by the back judge. And then we're going to have a catch for a touchdown. And our back judge and our line judge signal touchdown. Now, the good news here is we have a lot of time that goes by, and we're utilizing our radios to inform the referee of a touchdown. And we can't see our referee on film, but again, enough time goes by here that allows us to communicate with our referee, who then can turn to the press box and signal a touchdown. And that's when we would like to have the lights flash again, if at all. But now on this last clip, and let's notice the game situation here. It's a tight game. It's at the end of the 4th quarter. And we're going to get an interception by the home team. However, there's 2 important things to note here. We clearly have 2 flags on the play. One by the head linesman and one by the back judge. And we also have a player for the offensive team down and what appears to be an injured player. Now the home team has the interception. And what we're going to notice here before the film cuts off is it goes completely dark. Now, there are 2 times in the game when emotions are at the highest. One is after a score, and the other is after a turnover. So again, just like on the first 2 clips here, please allow time for the crew to come together, and please do not use flashing lights until the referee has signaled that there has been, in fact, a change of possession. To add on to that, sometimes we'll get fumbles that will lead to a big scrum. And as we are unpiling the players, officials will oftentimes signal a change of possession at that point in time. We had again asked for some patience, allow the players to separate before the use of flashing lights. And again, please be on the lookout for some communication from the OSAA regarding this. Well, that is it for this week's Clips of the Week. As always, thank you to all of the officials and coaches who continue to send in clips for review. Again, we encourage everyone, per the OSAA request from a couple of weeks ago, to send in film proactively after your games and once the film is ready. That allows us to get film out to officials as fast as possible so we can evaluate and train earlier in the week. We wish everyone the best of luck this week with their game, and we'll see you next week.